Hey, it's Benjie Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benjie@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Kiel Barnekov. We're going to be discussing his amazing book, Shepherds of Destiny, Complete Edition. Available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. But people, listen, if you want to gather everything that Kiel has in store, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal site. And that's KielBarnekov.com. That's KielBarnekov.com. There you'll find more information on Kiel himself, more information on this fantastic book, Shepherds of Destiny, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing page. So one more time, that's KielBarnekov.com. And I will say, Kiel was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best publishers in the business. And that's Good River Print and Media Publishing. So if you or anybody you know have a book that they'd like moved, well, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and move it through Good River. And you can find out more information on them and their fantastic team at goodriverprintandmedia.com. So people, sit back, strap in, and get ready for an amazing ride. Because when we're done with today's interview, I promise you, you are going to run to his Amazon, Barnes & Noble page, or his personal website and purchase the book because it is that engaging. All right. Without further ado, let's bring him here on the line with us. Kiel, first and foremost, man, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Benjie, for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, thank you for being a guest, and we're really looking forward to this. I think what you're embarking upon here, as I told you on the pre-screening call, it's something that is so intriguing. It's something that is so engaging. It's something that is catered for the Hollywood screen. Now, there is that underlying message, right? That underlying tone there that we all need to be very aware of and very mindful of. And I think your book does a great job of balancing those two, where we have a fantastic story, but we have that underlying message as well to always be mindful of. And I love that. Kiel, before we go into the book, though, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So please tell our listening audience a little bit more about your background.
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in Northern Virginia, the Washington, D.C. area. My parents were both federal government workers. My dad was a captain in the Naval Reserve and a CIA operative. I attended Langley High School, that name might be familiar to you, and received my bachelor's degree from George Mason University. Met my wife, Linda, while working for a local bank and attending college. She was working for the FBI. I joined Delta Airlines as a ramp agent shortly before we wed. With Delta, I held positions at Washington National Airport, Tampa International Airport, Atlanta Airport, before joining Delta's computer programming department in 1980. By 1994, I was promoted to business technology administrator for Delta's airport operations worldwide. I continued my career with American Airlines CP ships, Tampa International Airport, and Orlando International Airport again, until I retired from my aviation technology career in 2018. Since then, I've written Shepherds of Destiny, and I'm completing the sequel this year. I live with my wife of 49 plus years in Ormond Beach, Florida.
Kiel, listen, man, we're going to have to invite you back on the network, okay? Not to discuss this book in further detail, not to discuss the sequel that you just mentioned, that you slid in there, but, man, just to discuss your background. Wow, it is so impressive. I'm sure you have stories for days between your family, between your personal career. My goodness, man. Congratulations on all of the accolades that you've been able to amass over the years. Congratulations on what sounds to be a beautiful marriage that you've established for yourself, and nothing but continued success to you and your loved ones, man. That's fantastic. It's wonderful to hear. And Kiel, without further ado, the anchor for today's interview is all about Shepherds of Destiny. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
Okay, well, there are many who believe that there is no such thing as coincidence, that events are guided by Providence to a predestined outcome. In Shepherds of Destiny, Providence incorporates the supernatural, futuristic medical technology to oversee and guide critical events, both past and future, to defeat attempts by evil forces to enslave humankind. In the year 2028, Christian Barnett, a billionaire through inheritance of his parents' estate and CEO of Barnett Industries, which develops, manufactures, and implements advanced transportation systems globally, falls ill at the age of 33 with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Dr. Savannah Richards, neurosurgeon and research scientist at the Stanford Neuroscience Health Center, is developing a means to preserve the brain of a patient whose body has been destroyed but whose brain is unharmed. Mm-hmm. Concurrently, Dr. Enslave Barnett, wife of Christian Barnett, is leading the development of a synthetic body indistinguishable from a human body for DARPA. Soon after Christian's brain is removed and placed in stasis, he is approached by the Guardian. The Guardian is a spiritual being who watches for timelines that are going astray and threatening the existence of humanity. The Guardian enlists Christian's mind to control the actions of key individuals in keeping a timeline on its predestined course. In his current spiritual state, Christian can travel to any period in the past or the future with the Guardian in order to correct changes to a timeline gone astray. With Christian's spirit in tow, the Guardian travels in time to events in history that, had they gone differently, would have harmed humanity severely. Events include the Civil War, World War II, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the use of the atom bomb at the end of World War II. Additional cyborgs, Aaron Adams and Commander Eric Richards, were created by Enslave and take part in the historical events mentioned previously. Christian Barnett and Aaron Adams, under the guidance of the Guardian, then traveled forward to the year 2052. The founding CEO of a high-tech information management company and two multi-billion-dollar telecommunication moguls have developed a new smartphone supporting an advanced communications technology. This technology enables control of a user's thoughts and actions. The new smartphone and communications technology are promoted to the military as a tool to control the actions of an enemy. The intent of the billionaire cabal, however, is to use the technology to establish a dystopian world in which billionaire elites and their ruling class government puppets would live in opulence, while the masses are enslaved to serve their masters. Aaron and Christian disrupt the demonstration of the technology to senior government officials, including the Secretary of Defense. The threat of human domination by evil tyrants is never over, and the eternal battle between good and evil continues.
The next concept I want to touch up on it. Let's talk about your title and your book cover. Now, listen, I think I can assume the connection that it has with the narrative and why you chose that title and the cover. But you know what happens when you assume, Kiel, so I'm not going to do that to you. I have you here on the line. I'm going to come right out and I'm going to ask, man, talk to us about that title and your book cover, and specifically those images that you're utilizing on the book cover and why you chose those to be the representation for your book.
The thing about the main plot of the book and the characters, I pursued the idea that they were shepherds of time. In fact, that was almost the title. My wife and I discussed it and went back and forth, and we were sitting on the beach one day and came up with Shepherds of Destiny, and that just clicked. It just sounds good. As far as the cover, I have to give credit to my cover designer, a gentleman by the name of George Voorhees. And he came up with those images, and they just all fit perfectly for the cover of that book.
Now, let's talk about inspiration for a second, Kiel. Now, first and foremost, with regards to this book, now, your background in aviation possibly has some influence with regards to the subject matter of this book, but talk to our listening audience about what inspired you to write this narrative.
Well, I've always been a fan of history. I love history. In fact, I had a college professor that wanted me to actually become a college professor, and I didn't see much future in that, so I declined. But and I also love what-if situations. What if the Germans had defeated the United States in World War II? Or what if Japan had invaded the west coast of the U.S.? And what if the U.S. had not used the atom bomb against Japan? What would have happened globally as a result of that? And then I had a colleague when I was working at Delta who suffered from ALS. And that inspired me to write more about that horrible disease and the effects of it and the implications it brought to someone who was otherwise healthy and all of a sudden diagnosed with this. And finally, I love science fiction, always have. I'm a big Trekkie. and hold an interest in the supernatural genre as well.
Mm-hmm.
Taking these elements all together, the story kind of fell into place.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense there. Makes sense. Guys, again, we're here on the line with Kiel Barnekov. We're discussing his amazing book, Shepherds of Destiny, complete edition. Available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or through his personal site, kielbarnekov.com. Kiel, next question I'd love to get into, man. So we know your interest and really what led you to develop this story. Well, who would you say is your intended audience, and what is the specific message that you're hoping that they take from your book?
Well, I'd say my intended audience would be just anyone who really has a curiosity about where technology is taking us, has an interest in history and how things happen, with a little bit of supernatural thrown in. Typically, I've found that the ladies seem to prefer the book over the men, and I have no idea why. I would have thought it would have been the opposite. But anyway, as far as let's see. I guess the thing that I would want them to take away is to really have an open regarding possibilities that science and medicine will bring to us in a relatively short time. This story has us creating cyborgs, synthetic bodies using human minds in the late 2030s. That may seem very far-fetched to some, but remember that smartphone you carry in those virtual reality goggles your children probably play with were little more than a dream less than 20 years ago. So hold on and buckle your seatbelt because there's a lot more coming.
Now, I want to go on to what is upcoming, Kiel, because I know you mentioned before there's a sequel to this book that you're in the process of working on now, soon to be released. Now, without giving too much away, of course, tell us a little bit more about that sequel.
Well, one thing that sequel will definitely introduce is the concept of artificial intelligence. And relating that to the supernatural is going to be interesting. I haven't completely gotten around that, wrap my head around that yet, but I'm close. And I think it's all going to come out very well. Other than that, there's more fictional historical events that I address. One that addresses China's role with the current administration in Washington and where that might lead. And the Guardian and our cyborgs, Christian and all, get involved in that. So that's in there as well. There's also an attack, a biological attack that occurs later in this decade. And I reference the Chinese right now, but I may have to just not put the country in there. Cleverly, like Top Gun Maverick did not mention the country that they were attacking. So I may have to adjust that a little bit. But this virus makes COVID look like a walk in the park.
Kiel, what would you say was a highlight for you, man, in writing the book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you throughout the journey that you weren't anticipating before you began on it?
Well, the highlight for me really was the research. I traveled to Gettysburg to walk the battlefields and get a real feel for the Civil War and what occurred there. And I also took a trip to Norway because a big part of the book is one of the characters, Commander Eric Richards. He has an involvement with a young lady in Norway. And so they developed that relationship. And I wanted to know a lot about Norway. The other part of it that I brought in too was my family history. I have relatives in Sweden that have a beautiful estate over there. And I use that estate as the location, if you will, for a good part of book two.
And last question here, man, as we close out of this fantastic interview, as I mentioned to you before in the pre-screening call, I'm an artist myself. I'm in a different medium, but I love having this platform to really be able to utilize it to pay it forward, in a sense, to other artists out there listening in. Now, Kiel, in this instance, I want to talk to the writers out there, okay? Now, for any new writer, someone just starting out, what are some words of wisdom that you can relate to them about the journey that they're getting ready to embark upon?
Well, the first thing, I'll pass on what was given to me by a good friend and journalist by the name of Bill Gilbert. When I wrote my first book back, I wrote a children's book and had him review it. And his advice was, write because you enjoy it, not to make a living. Your work making it to the New York Times bestseller list has about the same chances as you winning the lottery. Mm-hmm. Be prepared for criticism and reviews and rejections by publishers. You're going to have a thick skin if you publish, and realize that your readers are all different with different perspectives, beliefs, and opinions. And if you get a bad review from one and a great review from another, that just reflects the diversity in our population.
Absolutely. Kiel, that's great advice. And really what he was preparing you for is the life of an artist, really. I mean, right. It's great words of wisdom for any new writer, right? Embarking upon this journey and what to expect. But really, that is great advice for artists across the board. Because, listen, I'm in the film industry, and it is the exact same way here. And I'm sure my father is a musician. He's also a writer, and he would probably second that notion also. People, this is fantastic. What I love even more is, as I said at the beginning of the interview, we were only going to scratch the surface of the book, and we did just that. The onus is on you now. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kiel, Barnekov.com are the places you have to go. Shepherds of Destiny is the title you have to pick up. And Kiel Barnekov is the author you have to thank for bringing that fantastic narrative to your table. I'm telling you, you're going to want to head on over there, pick up the book today, get started on it so you can just get lost in the journey. And then be on the lookout for the sequel that's going to be released very shortly. You surely will not be disappointed. Kiel, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. Such an honor. I truly mean that. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
And again, thank you for having me. I think it was great.